Joined by Makram Rabah from the American University of Beirut, who's with us now. Thank you so much, Makram, for being with us this morning. Good morning. How is this visit being viewed in Lebanon?
Well, everyone, including Hezbollah, are betting that the Americans can actually curb Israel's continuing crescendoing of violence. However, I believe that such a wager on the ability of Blinken and later the U.S. Special Envoy on Energy, Amos Hochstein, to actually be able to hammer out a new 1701 United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701 in a modified state is somewhat difficult, because we see that the way that that Israel is going after Hezbollah indicates well that they have a clear map of their presence in the south of Lebanon. The killing of Wissam Tawil yesterday is one of the most senior leadership, going back even maybe to Ahmad Maghni. And he's a close associate of Soleimani and all these senior Iranian militia leaders, which indicates that despite Israel's focusing on the Gaza operation, they still think that there's existential threat coming out of Lebanon. And regardless of what happens on the diplomatic channels, I don't think that we will see a more stable south of Lebanon in the near future.
So, again, the United Nations Resolution 1701 calls for the full cessation of hostilities at the Lebanon-Israel borders, what you're referring to. But may I also ask you this, that for now, when we've seen that the Hezbollah commander who's been killed, a senior one, on Monday, and there's been a target on the Hamas deputy leader in Lebanon, the way in which Hezbollah has responded with its supreme commander, Nasrallah, it's been not as tough as many in the region would have expected.
Well, one has to remember two things. First of all, the chief of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, is part and parcel of the whole organic structure of Iran, and thus Iran has strict orders not to engage in open warfare with Israel, not because they actually care about the Lebanese, but rather they know that at this particular moment in time, it's a losing war. In addition to the fact,
So there is a sort of an understanding that no one wants this wider escalation of tensions, what Antony Blinken is proposing as well.
At least the Biden administration and the Iranians see eye to eye, but the Israelis do not necessarily want to stay calm when it comes to leaving Hezbollah, because they do believe that Iran is directly responsible for what happened. In addition, one has to remember that Hezbollah and Iran don't have the technology to respond in a kind of an effective manner to these targeting, because at the end of the day, Tawil is a legitimate military target. So Hezbollah has been responding by shelling the north of Israel, but this, when it comes to the optics of things, doesn't really qualify as a kind of a revenge retaliation. And thus, Hassan Nasrallah has been caught in his own rhetoric, because over the years, as you are well aware, he has promised that he will destroy Israel, and thus he has not been able to really inflict any serious damage beyond the fact that he's shelling these frontier positions.
Makram, before we let you go, I just want to get your thoughts also on what Antony Blinken has said before leaving Saudi Arabia. Significant statement about how, according to him, Saudi Arabia still remains interested in diplomatic ties with Israel.
Well, yes, I believe that one of the main reasons why Iran and Hamas jumped the gun on what happened is the fact that Mohammed bin Salman was very courageous and brave in speaking out in support of peace. And I believe, despite the violence and the killing of innocent people, our only way forward is to go back to the peace table and talk about the two-state solution, whatever form it comes from.
Makram Rabah, thank you for joining us from the American University of Beirut with that perspective.
You're listening to Newsday on the BBC.